Hi, everyone. My name is Phillip Compeau. I'm an associate teaching professor in the computational biology department at Carnegie Mellon University. And today I'll be talking about teaching a comprehensive introductory course in computational biology for first-year computer science undergraduates, an abstract that's a joint work with Carl Kingsford, who is also a professor in the computational biology department, as well as Herb Simon, professor of computer science at CMU. So we teach at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the US. And we launched a course designed for first-year computer science undergraduates, which includes computational biology students as well, in spring 2019. It's now offered every spring. I've taught it solo in 2020 and 2021, and we have about 30 students per year. So as I mentioned, this is taken in by first-year undergraduates in our School of Computer Science, a school that is very selective and has an approximately 5% acceptance rate, depending on the year. There is a little bit of prerequisite coursework, so students are taking this typically in their second semester. So we are allowed to assume a little bit of prerequisite coursework. Specifically, we assume a rigorous one-semester introduction to programming, and we assume a one-semester introduction to proofs that has a focus on discrete mathematics. Fortunately, both of those courses are taken by first semester students within the School of Computer Science. So we know that they have a very solid grounding in both of these topics. I will note also that because the course is taught with an aim towards computer scientists, we made the decision not to require biology as prerequisite coursework. So we encourage students to take a modern biology introductory course concurrently with our course. And if they've had it before they take our course, then that is fine. But we try to motivate all the biological topics that they need from within teaching them computational biology. It is not, I should say, exclusively taken by students in the School of Computer Science. Sometimes we will have engineering students, and sometimes we'll have students from the Science College, notably biology majors, although there is a separate required introduction to computational biology that biology majors take. So it's usually on a one-off basis that we have students in other colleges take our course, and they're mostly computer science students. I say computer science students, but what I mean is that these students come from one of now 4 majors. So over the last few years, we have broadened our major pool in the School of Computer Science beyond computer science to have artificial intelligence, human-computer interaction, as well as computational biology as standalone majors. Here is just kind of a high-level overview of our curriculum that is divided into cores, with Great Ideas in Comp Bio being the gateway course to the major. Students declare their major during their first year spring. And so it allows students to get exposure to computational biology before they decide whether or not they choose to major in it. We have an additional major program and a concentration for students who are not majoring in Comp Bio as well. And then for students who do decide to take in the major, just as an aside, they receive equivalent computer science and quantitative training, and everybody in the school has the same general education humanities requirements. So our students, after they take our course, only differ from other majors in the sense of taking additional biological coursework and taking a core of Comp Bio coursework as a replacement for, say, advanced electives in a specific domain of computer science. With this in mind, and knowing that we're pulling from very, very bright, computationally minded, quantitatively minded students, our main aim is to show these students who are mostly computationally minded the great ideas that have made biology a computational discipline. So just as our Comp Bio course sits in the center of a lot of things for a major, I tried to structure our course aims in the same way, that everything ties into this central aim of what is it that has made biology computational, and what are the beautiful ideas that we can find underneath that umbrella. I've shown 6 other aims here that we have as part of this course, and I'll highlight these as I go through. For example, we want to show that there are fundamental algorithmic topics that have been used repeatedly in computational biology. So we will cover, for example, dynamic programming with respect to sequence alignment, but students will see dynamic programming as a paradigm that occurs throughout the course, as well as a few other ideas. We want to take a very broad view of comp bio to find gems outside of maybe standard genomics topics that are typically covered in an introductory course. We want to profile topics that have been so important that they've actually informed non-biological aspects of computer science. We want to always point students toward the primary research from which this has derived, as well as then point them to how they can take the theory that they're learning in the course and apply it practically. We require students to complete a group project on a topic of their choice, so they have the freedom to pick a topic, and that reinforces the breadth of our course as well, because they have the freedom to choose, really from a wide variety of different options. And then we also want to show students what others are doing in the field. So we're not the only people who are teaching the course, in the sense that we have time allocated within the class to feature talks from excellent educators and world-leading researchers who are out there that can talk about things that build upon the ideas that students are learning in the course. So I'll highlight these names as I go through. We divide the course essentially into two halves. We have 12 weeks of course material, and then a course project presentation week. And the first half of this course is largely focused on classic genomics topics that you would typically see, I believe, in an introductory computational biology or bioinformatics course for undergraduates. And these especially reinforce, these fundamental algorithmic topics of things like dynamic programming or expectation maximization, or pattern matching algorithms, et cetera. And we also want to point out places that computational biology has actually informed computer science, as I mentioned. So with things like suffix arrays or the Burrows-Wheeler transform, or even algorithms like UPGMA, places that there has been a lot of innovation within the biological space, and that this has informed work outside of biology and computer science too. In the second half of the course is where we really are allowed to take a broad view. And what I like about this is that I myself am very comfortable teaching these bioinformatics topics, having done it for a while. But when we ask students about what their favorite topics are, they tend to report topics that are in the second half of the semester. So they're very far from just add-on topics. They're things that we wanted to profile that may not be typical. So the aim here is to find gems outside of standard topics. They may not be the most typical topics to cover in an introductory course, but we thought that there were some beautiful ideas presented in these. So certainly there's RNA sequencing is very standard, and protein structure prediction and analysis too, but we want to profile ideas from systems biology. We want to talk about the foundations of neural networks. We want to point out this wonderful field of algorithms in nature and show how natural algorithms, how do we infer what algorithms different natural systems are using to solve problems. And then we have a final week of the course where we have many great ideas that point towards smaller topics that may not have consumed an entire week, but things like cellular automata or DNA computing, spatial game theory, really neat ideas that students can see little kind of smaller pieces of. So this ties in well, our course I think ties in very well with other CS core courses that students are taking at the same time. I wanted to note this. So for example, students learn in their first semester when they're taking a proofs course, they learn about concepts like induction or injections and bijections, pigeonhole principle, basic probability, these sorts of things, and they recur very frequently throughout our course. So they have learned about these topics only within a mathematical context, and then we can really amaze them by saying, look, in this totally biological context, you're seeing the things that you've learned as very practical matters. You may have thought that they were just mathematical theory, but in fact, they have a very, very clear practice within biology, a place that you might not have expected. We also tie in well to the second programming course that students take, which many of them are taking in the spring concurrently with their class. So topics like binary search, which is taught simply from the perspective of the algorithms in this programming course, students see binary search from the perspective of suffix array-based pattern matching used for mapping reads to a genome. They also see hash tables and Bloom filters, and networks, which they learn about in that course, occur throughout our course in a variety of different contexts, whether it's de Bruijn graphs, evolutionary trees, or things like protein interaction networks as well. This year, I wanted students to have practical applications of the theory that they learned. So we added 3 practical challenges where they can go through and use existing software that builds upon the theory that they learn about in the course, where they can see the implementation of this applied to a real data set. And what could give them a better sense of this than using open data sets provided as part of SARS-CoV-2 data generation. So the first thing that we do is assemble and annotate the SARS-CoV-2 genome using what they learn about the genome assembly and alignment. And then we transition towards building evolutionary trees and multiple alignments of multiple genomes to identify and track variants of the virus. And then we use all these genomes to predict the structure of the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein and compare that against other coronaviruses, notably the SARS-CoV coronavirus from 2003. So students really see that this is very relevant to the biggest story that's going on in the world today. We also have frequently hosted mini lectures, often recorded from folks that can speak on topics that are very closely connected to what our students are learning in the course. This year we did something a bit different, which was that we had a small group of professors teaching similar material to different student audiences, and we each gave guest lectures to each other's groups. So we were able to point students to 4 excellent instructors here who could talk about different aspects and who knew what curriculum our students were going through, so they could frequently point to the things that they were learning in each of these advanced topics. I mentioned our final project, and this is a critical part of the class. So we want students to complete a project on a topic of their choice. In the past, this has been done individually, but we did this as a group project this year. And what are the big aims of doing that? Well, we know that there's this boom of publicly available data that's available. And we know that much of this data has been provided as part of very, very critical topics in modern biology and medicine. And so allowing students to do a project also has this ancillary benefit of further exciting them about computational biology, so that they can see that this project that they're doing is on a very, very relevant cutting edge topic. It also allows us to reinforce the breadth of the course. So students can essentially, although we provide a menu of suggested types of topics, they can choose whatever they like as long as it fits within the umbrella of a computational method applied to some biological data set, whatever that might be. And then at the end of this, a critical part of the project is that students have to both write an essay and provide an oral presentation. And a large part of their grade is based off of the quality of their scientific communication. So not only do we want their science to be good, but we want the quality of their communication to be very strong as well. With respect to that breadth, I thought I would just give a small list of a few excellent student projects to show the different things that students do. So we've had plenty of students do things like neural networks applied to cancer images or some type of cellular images. We have a very popular type of project is to look at differential expression analysis on something. But we also have had students do some wonderfully diverse projects, everything from studying avian migration to looking at the stability of metagenomics distance metrics on different data sets. And so that's been really very impressive in terms of what students have produced. I did want to make a small remark about the fact that 2 out of the 3 times that we've run this course, we've needed to be remote due to the pandemic. And this year, I would mention that I did something a little different for the course in terms of boosting engagement. So in order to encourage students to attend class remotely synchronously, and as well as to prepare for class. We had short pre-class exercises that students had to do between every lecture, just to indicate that they had understood the material and to provide any questions that they have pertaining to the previous lecture. So they had to sign off that they had reviewed their notes and gone through it. And so for students attending class synchronously, as well as completing these exercises, we picked a partner charity, and we gave a certain amount of money to reward students for doing this every day, so that they could see that we were that I was bought into their engagement within the course. We picked a partner charity that related to education and boosting access to high-speed internet in the Pittsburgh area. So it was in our backyard. That's a charity that the students themselves picked out. And we gave about $450 to that charity. So it was an exciting way to get students to see that their engagement in the course mattered. And there are students from 2021, or a few of them at least. So fortunately, when we've looked at the course evaluations for the course, we do see the students appreciate the aim, some of these aims, especially that this is a course that's tailored to computationally minded people. So I just provided a few sample quotes from our course evaluations showing that students responded to this, and that it's accessible to students without any prior biological background, and that they appreciated the fact that this is applied to something that's very real and very practical. Students also tend to really enjoy the guest lectures and get into those. And the highest compliment that we could get is from somebody who, like me, hated biology in high school, but really was attracted to the discipline and understands why computational biology is so wonderful. So that last comment is really the highest praise from my perspective. Our course resources are open and easy to find. The first offering of the course has a URL there. I also have posted slides as well as SARS-CoV-2 challenges from the most recent run of the course to my own personal website, which you can find there. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions about the course or you're interested in more materials, because we love to be in touch with you. And I will close today by thanking first and foremost our wonderful students who have signed up for the course and done so well, but also we've had some wonderful dedicated student TAs over the past few years, as well as students who helped me author these SARS-CoV-2 challenges and got all the data and got all the pipelines set up and so on. And finally, the Computational Biology Department at Carnegie Mellon for letting us build this course that's been extremely rewarding to teach in the past, and I hope in the future as well. So thank you very much for your time, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have, whether synchronously or via email. Thank you.